Okay, we're going to give you your critiques on your informative speeches. A couple of things that you need to be aware of. Number one, the public speaker critique was due on the 19th. I only have one. You have a persuasive speech coming up, and then just literally hours after that, you have the special occasion speech. Please check a good check of the syllabus and the calendar so you know when those speeches are due. We're at the point where you need to be showing that you're catching on to some of the things we're saying. And to be very honest, some of you are showing no signs at all of paying any attention to what I've been saying. Some of you haven't even indicated that you've listened to any of the critiques that I've sent out. I would caution people that if you do not do any of the speeches in this course, you fail the course. It's in the syllabus. Please take a look at that. And a couple of you have not turned in speeches, and you need to be making arrangements with me about what you can do about it, because at this point there is a severe grade reduction, but it will keep you from failing the course for not turning the speech in. I won't tell you you won't fail the course because of not doing work or because of a bad grade. Please pay attention to what I say. I tell you how to introduce the audience. Some of you didn't do that. I tell you what kind of a shot I want on you. This essentially, bus line to an inch or two above the head. I'm not getting that from some of you. One of the people this time had an excessively loud background. I not only couldn't understand what the person was saying, in many places I couldn't even hear what the person was saying. You've got to control the environment in which you give your speeches. You've got to pay attention to when it says we need a visual, that you do the visuals. I have stated, do not post any paperwork in Connect. Some of you are still doing it. Some of you sent it to me, so I had it that way. I will not open anything in Connect except for your speech. So please pay attention to that. Many of you went too long. Some of you went too short. And your outlines are not labeled, both of them. You need a speaking outline and a preparation outline. Your visuals are supposed to be sent to me. A couple of you gave me PowerPoint addresses, and that's fine. Those were great. And I think one person sent me a copy of the visual that was used. That's good too. But when you try to manipulate visuals in your speech, you're causing yourself no end of trouble. I'll probably remember some other things as we go here. Hey, and guess what? We still have people who haven't turned in a fantasy name. Now, that was a requirement on like day one. And if you don't turn that in, it's going to affect your grade. It's a little late at this point. The directions are there, have been since the start of this semester. So, all right, first person up is Hoosier. Let's start with what you're doing. You're stating facts without any kind of a citation. So you want to be really, really careful of that. I can't see the audience face, and you did not show me that, so you've got to take care of that. They walk by. Some of them are looking at you when they walk by, so I'm seeing the back of their heads. All right, watch vocalized pauses. You're not talking to me. In other words, eye contact. You're talking to the audience, and I've said that. That's wonderful if you're in a classroom, and I can tell who you're talking to, but when you're doing this and you're doing this, I have no idea if there's anyone over there or not. You've got to talk to the camera. That's me. Talk exclusively to me. Your audience can hear and see, and they can comment on it afterwards. Your camera focus is soft. You have too many awkward pauses. It's like you got lost in your speech, and it was strange, so you need to smooth that out. You have the wrong camera shot. The TV in the background, this is interesting. You try to do your visuals and the TV in the background. Now, I hope you understand what happened. The camera takes the brightest thing it sees, which happened to be the TV behind you. It irises down when it does that, and as a result, the light on you disappears. The TV over modulates, in a sense, and it's very difficult, and that's why I don't want you doing that. You can put the TV over on the side and switch it, but send me the pictures of the PowerPoints you're using. All right. It's hard to see your face, and if several people are playing at once, what's that sound like? Meaning the people you were talking about at multiple stages. If the rock concerts I've been to, if they're as loud as they are, I don't, you'd have to have them a mile away to keep the sound from that one from interfering with this one. Okay. Your outline was not labeled. You do not explain what a pod is. You told me about what was there and stuff like that, but I don't know if a pod is a building or a marker or what. You told me what was there, but you've got to tell me what it is. Is it a small hut of some kind? Is it some kind of a portable building, a trailer? That kind of thing. And you never mention anything about drugs or alcohol and sex, because when you get to those big events, often that happens. Stand still. And you just died at the end of your speech. You need to fix that. All right, next up is no fantasy name. But that's okay, because you missed so many things in this speech that it was abysmal. You have the wrong audience introduction. Never, never, never. It says it in the syllabus. Dress appropriately. You would never wear a baseball cap when you're doing a speech. Camera's bouncing too much. It's required to be on a tripod. You are reading your speech. The speech was far too short, and it was hard to follow. No outlines, no visuals. I mean, don't need to say a lot about that. Next up is Shadow. Shadow, you had a very good audience introduction. Stand still. You move a little too much, and that distracts from what you were saying. But you did a nice job. You had a good topic. It was well presented. And even with that, where are your sources? Mention the sources in the speech. And don't say, what I'm going to be talking about is going to be from this book, and then I have to assume everything you say after that is somewhere in that book. That's not what you did, but always give your sources. You had a lot of stuff there about things, and you've got to tell me where it came from. Signal your ending, like finally or to conclude or something like that, because when you ended, it came off as abrupt. This was an excellent speech with very good information, so don't let anything I said cause you anything to the contrary. Next up is Cricket. You had a good audience introduction. You need to amp up your energy a little bit, just a bit. You are very good, and believe that when you give a speech, because I get the feeling that you don't quite believe that you're as good as you are, and as a result, you come off as timid. Get past that. You are good. Okay. This was an excellent use of visuals, strong presentation, excellent mix of sources who are well-known people. And that really, if you're given a source and it's some guy from the 18th century, nobody knows who he is. But when you use contemporary people and names as sources and that it backs up what you're saying, well done. It's Nobel Prize, not Nobel. So make sure you learn how to pronounce that. Next up is Alban. All right, Alban, you have you're still not following my audience introduction instructions. Tighten up the camera shot on yourself. You have too much camera movement, but this was a really interesting topic. Watch your vocalized sigh. At one point, you just like, okay, well, now I got to do 2 more minutes, that kind of thing. Cite your sources in your speech. You talk about a book and this and that, and cite your sources as you go. Don't leave the podium a fraction of a second after your last word. It's like, and that's this, and you're leaving. Like, no, don't do that. Finish your speech, look at the audience for a second, and then leave, or have someone else turn off the camera. And I didn't see a visual in this speech. Next up is Dutch. Dutch, this was a good audience intro and great shot composition. Slow down at the start of your speech for effect. You're trying to make a point. Give me a little time to absorb it and help me out that way. Slow down for clarity, too. Stand still when you speak. When you kind of move around a lot, and it's a little distracting. Remember to talk to me, not at me. Establish at the beginning why we should care. In other words, personalize your speech to the audience. You get lost near the end of your speech, it's kind of like, I'm not sure where I'm going next. And all right. Do not attach outlines in Connect. And this was a nice ending. You really had to stand still because you move too much. And finally, no fantasy name. Okay. Well, and again, you helped me because this was just a disaster in every way. It's too short. This was not an acceptable speech at all by any standard. You have the wrong audience intro. The camera is still moving around. There's too much camera noise of the camera itself. The person handling the camera is making all kinds of noise. Way too much background sound to hear your speech. It sounds like there's a dance going on just outside. There's somebody outside the window moving around, distracting from what you're saying. You are speaking too fast. Don't touch your hair while you're speaking. And have no outlines, no visuals. You abruptly end. In addition to not being able to hear you over the noise, it was very difficult to understand you. Normally it's a little hard to understand you, but this made it even worse. It was far, far too short. Okay, that kind of gives you an idea. I know I went fast. Don't forget, your speaker critique is already late. Your persuasion speech, please go into the book and look that up and see what you're trying to do. I strongly suggest you look around and look for something that kind of bothers you. You cannot do abortion. You cannot do capital punishment or any of those things that are out there that everybody and their brother does. Look for something that kind of ticks you off. Or look for something that's coming along in other places. Red light cameras. That's a big area in big topic in other areas. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. Look at things that people do. I am just crazy about the fact that we've got islands in Bloomington in the middle of the road, and when it's wet, the island blends right in with the road, and they're not painted any kind of reflecting paint. So obviously somebody's going to run up on the island because they don't know that it's there. So look around. My brother came to town, and he's from Texas. We were riding along in the car, and he was mumbling a lot. I finally said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "You're stopping at every stoplight." I said, "Well, yeah, that's kind of a custom here in Indiana." He said, "No, you're stopping, but there's no reason. There's no cars ready to cross." Well, he made a good point. And his point was that in Texas, they synchronize the lights on the route they designate. So if the east-west route is the route, that light is going to be green all the time unless or until a car going north or south tries to come to that intersection, it trips something in the pavement, then the light turns green for them and they can cross the road. Good point. Your point is that when you're sitting at a stoplight waiting for it to cycle, you're using gas. Another good point. So look around, look for things that bother you. If you're a college student, what about the cost of textbooks? If you're a college student, what about now that you are in courses, you have to buy the textbook as part of your enrollment in the course? This course is an example. You couldn't use your brother's textbook if your brother took the course, a semester ago. You can't rent your textbook. Is that fair? Is that just adding to the cost of being a college student? Look for things that make you angry and then see what you can do about it. And say something about it, okay? But make your persuasive speech one of your best. This is the big one. There's a lot of points on this one. One other thing I want to tell you about. I am going to kind of change. There's two ways I could do this. I could give everyone credit for the peer speech critiques. The problem is that some people have dropped. The peer groups don't always have somebody that participates. So either I give you all credit for that, or we do it the right way, and that is we drop 100 points because there were 10 peer group things at 10 points each. That's 100 points, and lower the top grade to 900. So that would mean that 800 and 900 would be an A, 700 to 800 would be a B, 600 to 700 would be a C, like that. You understand what I'm saying? If you have any questions about that, or you want to ask any questions, give me a call in the office, and I'll explain what I have in mind. Or we could do it the other way and keep the points at 1,000. But some people have not had a chance to really participate. Watch the discussion boards. Make sure you are responding to 2 people. Make sure you post by Wednesday, and then you respond from Thursday on, so that people can actually have have had a chance to have something there to respond to before Sunday night at 11 o'clock. If you have any questions, call me in the office. You have the phone number. And good luck. We're about done. In fact, we've got essentially another 2 weeks. So I look forward to how well you do on the persuasive speech, and we will talk to you next time. You have a great one.